Hey guys, James here again, and today we're joined by the BSA Defiant. Now this is a bit of a turning point for me really. Now this is the first BSA gun that I've ever had any contact with. Now that's nothing against BSA, it's just, you know, I'm a creature set in my habit. I've always had set brands. So when the chance was basically given by the guys down at the Gun Room and Country Clothing in Ivybridge to test this, yeah, I took it. Now, it's one of those guns, I first saw it over at the British Shooting Show back in February. There was a lot of hype around it, there was a lot of kind of buzz around the stand, and a lot of people there. So I didn't really get to see really much of the gun. So it's one of those guns, it just kind of passed me by. And when I've been doing a bit of research, obviously just trying to find out what, you know, what information is out there, I've noticed there's not a massive amount of people that are using this gun. And it got me thinking, well, why? So anyway, let's have sort of the intro and we'll move on. We'll have a look at some of the specs, some of the stats, and show you exactly what you're getting for your money. Okay, so features of the BSA Defiant, and we'll move at the back and we'll work our way through. Now it comes with an adjustable butt pad, so you can adjust this to kind of fit as you please. Obviously you've got your safety catch on the side lever cocking, so it's nice and in the middle. So none of this tickling your ear rubbish that you get with some of the other bullpups on the market. It's a side lever cocking. Now if you cock it and you want to decock, just hold the lever, depress the trigger, guide it forward, and you've decocked the gun without letting off a shot. That's a neat feature. I know a lot of guns have it, but for anybody that's watching and is interested, it's a feature on the Defiant. Now it does have a two-stage trigger. I have to say, out the box, I've not done anything to this trigger at all. I've left it as it is because, to be fair, it's comfortable, it works, and if it isn't fixed, you know, if it's not broken, why change it? So for the moment anyway, it's as it is. Now BSA on their website are quite open about this. Now they've changed the regulator to basically ensure that you get the best shots per fill. Now fill wise, it's a 232 bar fill. It's a fairly standard amount for a BSA, and you can expect to get about 110 shots in 177 and 120 shots in 22. Now to put that in perspective compared to some of the others, that is exactly the same shot count as the carbine Galahad by Air Arms. So in its class, it's up there, you know, it's going to compete. You're not going to be less shots than some of the others. But for, I mean, this retails, I believe, at just shy of £1,100, you'd expect a good shot count. So, you know, it compares with the rest. I would consider 110 shots quite good. If you're out on the farm, 110 is going to be more than enough. And if you're at a club, you've got air, so it doesn't really matter. So that's sort of shot count wise and that kind of information. Now once you have finished and you've used up all your air, filling it really couldn't be easier. You simply just rotate this section around on the front, and you've got a quick fill port on the front of the gun with your gauge as well, so you can see exactly how much air is going in. And it's really simple, in the gauge goes, fill it up with air, back out again, and you're good to go. Just make sure that obviously you cover this over, so you don't want dust and grit and mud and stuff getting inside here. That will just cause damage. So coming in at £9, which is about 4 kilograms, near enough. The Defiant is not a light gun. When you first pick it up out the case it comes in, it is quite kind of obviously heavy. When I first picked it up, that was a concern. Now one thing that I will say is, yes, it is heavy. If you're walking around the farm with it, it does kind of start to bring you down a little bit. It does have sling swivels on if you want to put some kind of sling attachments or whatever on. But when I shouldered it, the weight made perfect sense. Now one advantage really with having the weight distributed at the back is it does provide a really stable shooting platform that makes snap shooting really easy. So what I'm going to do is just give it a quick try, see how we do. Now that there was a Coke can at 50 yards, nailed off the fence post, first shot. That's the stability that we're looking at. Obviously that was free hands and all that good stuff. So it does provide a very, very stable shooting platform. So other things to note really. Now this is going to be where people's kind of preference and sort of personal opinion take in. Now the stock. It's not a pretty stock, I don't think, but it's incredibly functional. To hold and to just have it here, it just sits so comfortably. Like I say, it doesn't look the prettiest thing in the world. I mean, the angles and stuff, they're not the cleanest, but the ergonomics and the actual kind of handling of it are a lot better than it looks. Now, I've seen people comment on the video we put up previously and also on Facebook when I put posts up, basically saying, oh my God, it's ugly. And yeah, I might agree. However, sometimes the best shooting guns are not the best looking guns. You know, sometimes things need to look a certain way for them to be comfortable. And I think this is where the Defiant is kind of at in its life. Now this version here is in this really nice black pepper laminate. Now you can get a normal walnut version and you can get a black version, so if you want the tactical look you can get a black version as well. Now it is an ambidextrous stock, you can shoot it left hand or right hand. I've tried it, absolutely flawless, apart from the cocking lever which is only on the right hand side. It's fully ambidextrous as far as I'm concerned. It shoulders perfectly, shoots fine, and yeah, as I say in a second, it is incredibly stable. Now one other thing with the stock is it does have this really nice soft touch cheek piece. Now when you bring it up into your shoulder, it does just fit really nicely and it lines you up perfectly with where your scope is. Now talking of scopes, now this is where I think BSA, you know, maybe the option would have been good, however nothing wrong with this. Now this is a dovetail mount on the top, so if you've got any standard scope rings they should fit just fine. Obviously depending, because it sits quite high, you can get a wider objective on without raising your scope rings up, which is something that I think some of the other guns on the market at the moment struggle with. You know, I've got guns at the moment that I have to run incredibly high mounts because I just cannot get the clearance between the barrel and where the sort of the scope rail is. So by having it mounted in this way, you can put a 56mm objective on here but still only be using medium height mounts, which means that you're keeping the scope as low to the barrel as you can, which again just makes holdovers a little bit more kind of attainable. Now on top, for anybody that is curious, the guys over at the gun room have very kindly sponsored, well I say sponsored, they supplied these. Now this is a sports match mounts on the top, not the adjustable ones, just regular sports match mounts, so absolutely spot on really. And a Vortex Viper. Now I've wanted a Vortex scope for a long time, but not really ever had the funds to kind of facilitate it. So it's really, as I say, this is a lot of scope for this gun. It starts at a 50 yard, anything below there it's as blurry as anything, but again it's not really meant for air guns, it's more rim fire, centre fire. So this is a lot of scope for this gun, so obviously you can pick whatever you want, whether it's Hawk, Nika Sterling, anything like that, you know, just chuck it on. And like I say, because they thought about this through, you can get a decent sized objective for maximum light gathering, but without raising your scope up a million miles, which is really helpful. Okay, so another thing to note really is obviously the bullpup construction. Now the barrel goes all the way back to, yeah, about there. And as you can see, it's fully shrouded. Now the shroud does screw on and off if you want to put like custom huggets or anything like that on. But to be honest, it is an incredibly quiet, efficient gun. And to be fair, I think actually looks really quite good. So for me personally, don't really need to change it. Now you will see in a second when we do the shooting test, because it's so quiet, you do get a lot of noise from sort of the hammer and all the rest of it. And it does provide a bit of a ting. Now a lot of people have picked up on this saying, oh my god, it's a weird noise. But think about this. If the rifle is so quiet that your biggest gripe is the fact that you can hear the hammer moving around, what does that say about the shroud? And what does that say about downrange? Your target's not going to hear the spring. The only reason you can hear it is because you're right next to it or because I've got the camera next to it. When you're 30, 50 yards away, the only thing you're going to hear is the pellet just go straight into whatever you're hitting. So it's very quiet, very sleek, and I think actually looks quite good. So anyway, let's move on. Okay, so that's the spec done, the weight done. So before we move on to the shooting, I'll just kind of tell you a few more things that are included. Now, when you do buy the BSA Defiant, it comes in a really nice hard case. It's a very robust case, actually. I've had it in the back of my van for a week, sloshing around. The case isn't damaged, it's not got any scuffs, any scratches, anything like that. And the gun inside, obviously you appreciate, you want to keep your pride and joy safe, is immaculate. So that's a really nice included feature. And apart from that, fairly standard things. You get your 2 magazines, which you've got a little magnetic tip on. So, I mean, you know, if you're a BSA R10 shooter, you're probably already aware of this. But when you put the magazine in, it just seats, it clips. And it's not a clip, you know, like a real hard clip, but if you've got the gun canted over or anything like that, it won't fall out. And I thought that was quite a neat little feature that, you know, not many people do. And another thing that I actually really liked and makes a pleasant change from the FX mags that I usually shoot is the fact that when you've got the gun shouldered, you can see how many shots you've got left. Now, I know a lot of companies do this. A friend of mine, he's got a Fearbin Rapid, it's got it marked on it. BSA as well, if you use the R10s or anything like that, then this is all kind of relatively, you know, you're used to it. But for somebody that's not come across BSA products before, it was a nice feature. And then obviously being a PCP, you do get a fill probe. So plenty of stuff that you're getting for your money, and obviously that's excluding the fact that you get this really sleek rifle. Okay, so let's me waffling on. Let's move on to the shooting side of this test, and yeah, see how we get on. Okay guys, so what we're going to do is do 10 shot group. Target there is down at 35 yards. Now what I'm just going to mention beforehand obviously is the scope here, we've got it zeroed for 50 yards. So the point of impact is going to be a little bit off. However, we're looking at groupings, not point of impact. So anyway, 10 rounds of field target trophy ammunition. Let's see how it groups. Okay, so accuracy. I'll put a picture about here, hopefully, of the target that we've just shot. So he's moving on the camera gear and whatnot. Now that was 10 shots in normal outside conditions, unsorted pellets. As I say, it was field target trophy, so H&M pellets today, not JSB. And I would say perfectly good group. I wouldn't have any problems with taking that out in the field or just doing a light bit of target shooting or whatever. A perfectly attainable group. Now, is it the best I've ever shot? Nope, but to be fair, is that the best pellet for this gun? I don't know, it's the only one I've tried. Do I know this gun well enough? No, not really. And, you know, it's one of those things, the more the gun is used, the more you get to learn how to shoot it, the better it's going to get. So I think a grouping like that, as a start point, yeah, I'm happy to take that. Now this is where I think the BSA is going to struggle. It comes in, as I mentioned earlier on, at, I think it's about £1,050, so just under £1,100. Now that's not a bad price, you know, for a bullpup with really good shot count, fully shrouded barrel, you know, all of the gizmos you could ever want. 1,100 quid is perfectly reasonable, and I think for the money I would pay this for this gun. Now the problem that the BSA Defiant has is it's pitching itself up against, you know, the Air Arms Galahad, the Daystate Renegade, you know, the FX Wildcat, and I mean, those guns, I mean, the last one in particular, take a lot of beating. You're getting an awful lot of gun for the money. Now the Air Arms and the Galahad, well, the Air Arms Galahad and the Daystate Renegade, I wouldn't say are pretty. The FX Wildcat is a bit of a do-it-all package. It's very sleek, it's very nice, decent shot count, all the rest of that. That's where it makes it difficult to then justify buying the BSA Defiant. If it had come in a little bit cheaper and you know it was that step ahead, then I think these would be flying off the shelf. And as I say, that's my own opinion. My only advice is to do what I've done. Go down your local shop, if they've got one in, pick it up, ask to have a go. You know, if they've got a range out the back, if you're lucky enough to be down by the gun ring, for example, if you've got a range that you can go and use, try it. You'll be really surprised. Now, as I say, this is my first venture into the land of BSA. I've never shot R10s or Ultras or any of those. And for a first look into the inside of BSA, I have to say, really impressed. And you know what? I'd probably, you know, if it was my choice, I would probably buy this gun. Now, we will have more coming very, very soon. You know, we've got more shooting tests. I've got a couple other products and things coming in. So if you want to watch more from us, obviously feel free to subscribe. If you've got any comments, any questions, anything like that, just put them down below. I will get back to you if it's constructive and I can. And, you know, it might not be instant, but I will get back to everybody. So, you know, final thought really is a huge thank you again to the guys at the gun room for setting me up with this one. Go and check it out. I mean, seriously, go and have a look. It's a really nice bit of kit for a decent price point, and it's so comfortable to shoot. But anyway guys, that's me waffling on. Until our next video, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.